be looking at the hand of someone who needs no introduction, Elvis Presley. So very interesting hand. First of all, I noticed that his headline is attached to the lifeline for a very long while. This means that he wasn't fully sure of himself. He was very extra sensitive. But at the same time, if we see that many people who have the headline and lifeline separate, they are very independent and they don't care what other people think. But in Elvis Presley's case, he had the support of other people, namely his manager, his wife, his mother in the early age. So there was a lot of support, and we all know that the colored community also loved him when he was a child. So there was so much support. So he needed that support, and that support was why he was so successful. Also, the other things we can see that from the Jupiter Mount, the lifeline is starting from the Jupiter Mount. So very extra ambitious, and we know that he was a truck driver before he gave an audition as a singer, and that is where his ambition comes from. That his whole life was ruled by ambition. And there we also see that the heartline is coming from the Saturn mount, and it's this also shows that he was very sensual, which is also confirmed by the mount of Venus, which is protruding. So this means he was very sensual. He liked, of course, adored women, and he was a heartthrob, and women adored him, and it's no surprise. But when it comes from the heartline, comes from this Saturn mount, and it comes from upward length. This means that his love is mostly sensual in nature, meaning he does love truly, but he could be what do you say, a sucker for beauty, like some person who is very I won't say exactly superficial, but looks is what the first thing he would see, and then personality. So maybe a bit of superficiality is there. And then we also see that the fate line is starting from the moon line and the moon mount, and there are many supporting lines from the moon mount itself, which shows that he had a lot of support from the outside world as well. And then we also notice something now in his later career. Elvis Presley suffered a lot from drug addictions, and that is also due to this Mount of Venus being very overdeveloped. It's a very overdeveloped mount, so it leads to the love of luxury and it's whatnot. And of course, the Saturnian heartline also makes a person materialistic. And this is I'm talking about the second part of life, because from there, also from the Jupiter mount, if you see, there's a second heartline coming. So when it comes from second headline coming. So when the second headline comes, so that makes the person, the drawing, the app is a bit like that. So here we see that the second headline is coming from here, the Jupiter mount, and this is the second headline, which is straight, but it's coming from the Jupiter mount. So this means that he became more ambitious as time went on. From the second half, if we draw this, we see that it becomes more prominent from the second part of life, which is the mid 30s onwards and towards the 40s and onwards. So from mid 30s onwards, he became more ambitious, too ambitious. And if we also see that he passed away in his 40s, and this is also due to this confusion, because in one way he's becoming more materialistic, he wants money, he wants more fame, and at the same time the other headline is going all the way towards Luna. So this makes him double-minded, that first of all he was doing it for him, for spirituality, for people. He was very he did not have that much I want to say the selfishness or something like that. But when the second headline starts, it's around the mid 30s, so he became more materialistic, he became more obsessed with status symbols. So the first headline is his true headline, because it's fulsome, it's joined with the lifeline. It starts from the Jupiter mount, so it shows that when he started off, he was very different. He was very gentle, caring, warm, and everything. But when the second headline comes, which I've drawn here, and it's starting from the second part of life, and that is when he started to gain weight, started to lose his become more materialistic, and take too many drugs and stuff, and feel more pressures of life. So this is the confusion, because on one part we see when the headline is going towards the dreamy part of the Mount of Luna, it's making him sensitive and caring for other people as well. But when this combined with the Saturnian heartline, which makes a person more into self-serving purpose, and then the second headline, so that is also making him more of a self-serving guy. And then we also see what is very confusing about his own personality is that he did not know himself that much, and because we also saw that his manager also started using him. So the latter part of life, he did not live it in with good company. This is shown because the mounts are all there, but if you notice, the thumb is not that long. So people who don't have that much of a long thumb, they tend to be too much, what do you say, too much like on other people, dependent on, or start depending on other people. And the thumb is also very, what do you say, flexible. So this means that he was very experimentational. Now with music and movies, that's fine. But when you start with the drugs and the temptation is too strong, you start to lose your grip on reality. And we also see that the will phalange is very, very well developed, and it's very stronger than the logic phalange. So the person loses touch on logic, loses touch on reality, and just goes with the stubbornness. So extra stubbornness makes the person very, even though the, if you see the angle, it's flexible, but it's still the willpower is too much. So the willpower, instead of being focused on the right thing, becomes focused on the wrong thing, that is doing drugs. And then we also see the fingers, as I was saying, they're not straight, they're inward leaning. We see this finger is leaning towards Apollo, which means that he's getting his talent from Apollo, but in the same case, he isn't sure of his talents. And if you see the first phalange, there is the first phalange of the ring finger, which is the finger of his artistic strength. We see that there is a droplet here, so that means he's very extra sensitive. And we see that here we also see that the Jupiter finger is bending towards Saturn. So all these fingers are bending towards the other ones because of the dependency on other people and lack of trust on himself, his abilities. Outwardly, I would say that this is a double-edged sword, because the support from other people, which was shown from the, which made his first headline, led him to become a very big star. And their talent is there. Of course, the headline is super long. It's going all the way till Mount of Luna. The Venus mount is excellent, and the Jupiter mount is protruding, and the lifeline is starting from Jupiter. So talent is of course there, and how he made it big we all saw. But his downfall is also clearly written in the second headline, and also on the fingers, that they're not straight, they're going inwards. So this is all I can tell from Elvis Presley's hand. Sadly, someone, if he had more better support, if he kept better company in the later part of his years, from the mid 30s onwards, then he would have been in much better hands and wouldn't have passed away in the early ages of the 40s. So thank you so much for watching, and have a very nice day ahead.